What's up, board fam? Eric here, and in today's video, we're going to be watching a clip from the Megyn Kelly show. Now, if you don't know Megyn Kelly, she was a lawyer. She went to work for Fox News. She's no longer with Fox News. Now she has her own show online, and she's done some really awful stuff. I was going to use another word, but we're so early in the video, I'm trying to play by YouTube's rules. She's pretty much just an awful person. She's very much MAGA. She's very much in line with pretty much all the controversial stuff. She even tried to defend some of the stuff happening in the Epstein files, which is just disgusting. Well, this is a clip where she is interviewing Josh Duhamel, who most of you would probably know from the Transformers franchise. That's where I know him from. But he's been in a ton of stuff. He's done voice acting for, let me look it up here. I looked it up before we went. So for the Batman Long Halloween, Night of the Animated Dead. He's been on various different TV shows. You might have seen him on Jupiter's Legacy, Battle Creek. So he's been around. He's not like a massive star or anything like that, but he works in the industry, and he's got connections with with some films that we may have known and some characters we may have known back in the day. With that being said, in this video clip, he has some advice for other actors, and I find it very hypocritical and also a little strange. So let's watch the clip, and we'll pause as we go through, because I have a lot to say about this. I really do.
It's a good message for a lot of people in the entertainment business these days. I just feel like, because you have a platform doesn't mean that you get to preach to everybody.
Okay, we're going to pause there. Does it mean you get to preach to everybody? Does it mean you are allowed to preach to everybody? Well, first of all, the term preach, if we're using it here, would mean having convictions about things. You're passionate about stuff. You want to speak out, and you have a large platform. Do I think that they have to do it, or are celebrities compelled to do it? Should they be made to say things? No. But I think as people who are human and live in this country, or may live somewhere in this world, they may want to actually speak out against something. They should be able to use their platform for that. I'm a big advocate for free speech in that regard, when it comes to being able to speak out against things that you believe are an injustice. I think that's a fair assessment most of the time. I have issues with things that people say, but more times than not, if you ask me about stuff, I'm just going to go, I am a believer in free speech outside of the legal sense, which is, in the United States, it just means the government can't, tell you not to say something, or, fuck with the press. I believe in free speech beyond that. I think that people in general should be able to voice their opinions about injustice in the world. I don't think that's a controversial opinion. Maybe it is for some people. It's not for me. It's a very easy thing for me to say. But to say that they don't get to do these things on their platform means that he believes, at least the way he's saying it, I don't know if maybe he's misspeaking here, that they shouldn't have the ability to do it. When you say get to, it makes me think you mean they shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's the impression I get from that comment. But let's continue.
Thank you. Tell that to the Oscars.
I honestly believe that, we're very fortunate to be in this position. And I spend a lot of time in the Midwest. So I get to see what they actually think about, us.
Okay, so he's now saying what people in the Midwest think about actors. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? If you are someone who feels like some bad shit is going down and you want to speak out about it, you shouldn't give a fuck about what people, quote unquote, think about you when you're doing something that you feel very passionate about and you have convictions about. That's the reality of it. Secondly, you are right now exerting a form of expressing your opinion in speech, being on the Megyn Kelly show. Megyn Kelly is a right-wing show with ties to MAGA. She's defended the predator behavior towards children in the Epstein files. You simply being on her show is expressing a political opinion. Why the fuck would you be on a Megyn Kelly show if you weren't there to market yourself to a specific political audience? I would say if you went on somebody like a left-wing podcasting show, you would want to, that you're there because you want to market to that audience. You're entitled to do that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying you are participating in the thing that you're trying to say that actors should not have the ability to do right now, in this moment, in this clip. That's crazy.
And they're not afraid to tell me. And,
So you've been bullied.
I'll never forget this. I was going to play golf with a buddy in Georgia about 10 years ago. And he meets me at the airport with a t-shirt that says,
wait, you're wearing some kind of advertisement band on your arm right now. That is an expression of free speech. It is supporting a cause of some type. You're doing that right now with a band around your arm. So you're on Megyn Kelly, a right-wing podcast. You're advertising something on your wrist, which is also a form of free speech. And you're sitting here while doing this saying that people with platforms don't get to preach. Which, by the way, preach is hyperbole. It's a word that they use when people are saying things that they don't want them or they don't want to hear. And so they go, oh, they're preaching. They're preaching this. I've heard this a lot. Even when I watch things that are more conservative coded or TV shows and movies where it's not necessarily as diverse as I'm used to seeing, I don't think that's preaching to me. Preaching to me is when something is literally designed to do that. You know what I mean? Like if a movie comes out and the core of the movie as a documentary is to talk about some conspiracy theory, and the person making that documentary has a narrative they want to paint in order to push some sort of agenda within that documentary, you can do that because that's what it's designed to do. But if you're talking about actors on platforms expressing their opinion about something, that's not preaching. It's just not. I feel like we exist in an era where people say things are this thing, but then don't actually understand what those things are, and therefore it just sort of becomes mush. It becomes a bowl of shit where everything is just mixed together. Language and words have to have meaning. It's how we communicate with each other. So when you say stuff like that, you have to say it in a way that conveys the actual emotion that you're trying to get across.
Nobody cares what actors think.
So if you don't care what actors think, then why are you paying attention to what they're saying? This is such a dumb thing. So if you have, I don't know, just pick somewhere, Kurt Russell goes on social media and says something outlandish, if you don't care what actors think, then what he says should not affect you one way or the other. And I've said this about other people here on this platform who say the same thing. I don't care what they think, but you do. If you acknowledge it and you talk about it and it affects you in some way, then you do care. So for example, if a liberal actor says something and it gets 1 million responses from people in the Midwest who are calling them a libtard or whatever detrimental, pejorative they have, demeaning word they have to assign to this person, then they're expressing that they do care what actors think. They just don't like what they're saying. And again, when you're trying to explain something, you need to explain it in a way that makes sense. Saying I don't care what they think while actively being upset that they're saying something or going they don't get to preach, those types of things mean you do actually care.
And I was like, damn, that's really funny. That's really good. And that always stuck with me because it's true. They don't, my job, and that's why I have real strong opinions about things, but I don't really talk about it because it's like, why,
Why? Oh, I see what's coming up next in the subtitles. I want to point out you being on Megyn Kelly is quite possibly one of the strongest opinions you can express, which is aligning yourself with the MAGA audience. You don't even have to say it. You're just there. The fact that you're there at all is aligning yourself with the MAGA audience.
Why would I, alienate half my audience?
So you're basically saying you are censoring yourself in order to sell yourself. So it's a form of censorship prostitution, essentially. You don't want to upset your audience, so you'd rather them have a perception of you that isn't real. That's some half-baked shit to me. If you are someone, you're like he could be saying that he is MAGA, but he doesn't want to express MAGA opinions because he would alienate half his audience. So he's okay with people who are not aligned with Trump or queer people, immigrants here or whatever. He's okay with them supporting him, but he doesn't give a fuck about them. But he's not going to tell them that he doesn't give a fuck about them because he doesn't want to get rid of his audience. Okay, I don't think that's a good thing, but let's go.
Because I respect their views on things.
No, you don't.
But I'm not going to preach to them.
You can't say you respect somebody's views, but then when they express their views, you say it's preaching. And you expressing your views isn't preaching. You being here right now on Megyn Kelly is expressing your views to us. It's expressing your views. Just full stop. And I don't think you're preaching. I don't think even what you're doing now is preaching. All you're doing is giving an opinion, regardless of how dumb it fucking is. You're giving your opinion. And that's okay. What you're doing right now is what you're asking other actors not to do, which is ridiculous.
They can believe what they want to believe. I'm just here to, make cool stuff.
Oh, that's so deep. So fucking deep. Yeah. You're on a MAGA podcast, Josh. Come on.
If you really want to be successful in this business, why would you make half of your audience despise you by your political beliefs?
You are literally on a podcast right now with somebody that defended the folks in the Epstein files. And you're like, why would you do stuff regarding your political beliefs? You're on the Megyn Kelly show. Is this a joke? Is this a parody? Like, what the fuck are we doing? What's left? Like if you can't even accept that you being on a MAGA podcast is expressing some form of opinion, what are we doing?
Maybe they don't care. I don't know. I mean, I look at it as a business decision.
So you're saying they don't care, but you're also saying they're preaching about their opinions. So how can they not care when they're passionate enough to express their opinions in public? That tells me that they actually do care a lot. You're the one that doesn't care. If the only thing you're trying to do is protect yourself from the backlash of your audience because things you believe in you don't want to express to the world, which is totally your right. You can do that. I'm not saying you can't. But that's not caring. You don't care enough to actually give your opinion. They do care. It's the opposite.
I'm here just to make cool movies, cool TV. I'm here to make cool stuff. And I'm a court jester, If I want to preach.
So why are you even on here? I see this clip, but I don't even understand why you're on here. Like, why would you come on this show if you don't want to be involved in political stuff? The Megyn Kelly show is directly connected to politics forever. This doesn't make any sense.
To you about what I believe politically, I'll go run for office, which I'm not going to do, by the way.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk about this because it's absolutely baffling to me that someone would go on a podcast with a host that is extremely political, worked for Fox News, has defended people in the Epstein files, very MAGA coded, very Donald Trump supported, that's what she does. You go on there and you're like, I'm not going to give my political opinion. Why the fuck are you on the Megyn Kelly show then?